Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs. Welcome back to Decidedly Vanilla. That looks really cool. in the sunlight, makes those steps in the middle kind of look like they're a different shade of sandstone. Interesting. So today is going to be a bit of a different episode, and for that I apologise if I've not got my usual energy, usual vim and vigour, not full of life right now. But yeah, a few things kind of threw me for a loop today. One thing in particular, which I'll get to in a second. But first of all, I'm going out to the stables because I realised I forgot to take the clay that I'd put in Donkey's chest. So I will grab the rest of that and take it over to the Nameless Ruin. Thank you very much, Donkey. Oh, alright, blimey. Okay, everything is getting a little bit heated in the horse stables. Apparently there's been a beef that I did not know about. But anyway, days since last Velociraptor incident, still 15. Good to know. Although maybe that's because maybe the Velociraptor incidents keep kind of like creeping up. I don't know. Apparently there's going to be time travel involved if there are Velociraptors. Anyway, today, first of all, top of this episode, I want to thank all of you guys for your support on Ask a Minecrafter. First episode went out yesterday and did extremely well. I'm so happy that you guys liked that series, that you, like, a few people left comments saying it was a really well produced video, which is not a comment that I usually get because I just tend to hit record and do my thing, but evidently I'd put a little bit of effort into, you know, all the cuts and stuff, all the extra stuff that happens in that video instead of just me talking into a camera. While we're here in Freehaven, let's show you guys all the progress on Nuggets Arcade, because there's some stuff has been happening over here, and in fact I might put some stuff over here in this chest. Let's throw the ink in there because I'll probably use ink for something, just so I have a space in my inventory to pick up this bit of netherrack. I've had to wall this off against mobs coming in just in case anyone decides to have a peek around and then a creeper comes in and blows it all up. But yeah, I've done a little bit of work over the weekend on Nuggets Arcade. It's looking a little bit more put together. Obviously the walls and ceilings still need some stuff doing to them, but the nether themed area down here has another game. This is the Trickster's Maze. I thought it was a nice little tribute to my previous trials, although yeah, this has got like it's got to have a carpet and stuff around here. This one has a carpet, that one doesn't, so need to cover up the dispenser, kind of have people just standing over this weird hole in the ground. And if you go through here to this part, this is Tombs of the Pharaohs. This is where this kind of Egyptian themed area is going to be, although it's really weird because I started building a pyramid and then realised that you'd have to be inside the pyramid, so the walls would have to slope inwards, which wouldn't be great for the arcade machines. But then if it's sloping outwards, then I would have to have like a corner design that, yeah, it's not like this is an inside corner, it would need to be an outside corner, so it's kind of weird. Didn't really work out how I expected it to, but never mind, this is how it is. Kind of put in the wool sky thing, that's not quite finished, but I need to work out a way to have it kind of extend off into the distance without the pyramid style thing looking like it's connecting to the sky in some sort of weird way. Maybe I'm just overthinking it or something, I don't know, but yeah, that's going to be kind of fun. And then that links through to the Ocean Temple room, which you've already seen, although I didn't show you guys the names of these games. This one is called Crystal Buster. I thought it was going to be like a kind of like a bubble bobble kind of thing, or Buster Move or whatever it's called. Oh, there's a ink sac here, a squid spawning inside there. That's incredible if they are. That's kind of hilarious if they are. This one here is Guardian Dash, and this one is Shards of Artemis. There we go. I just made all of those up, obviously, but I thought they were kind of fun names. So yeah, like I said, today is going to be a bit of a different episode. I'm mostly going to be just chatting away at you guys, if you'll let me. And yeah, apologies to people who are expecting a lot of action, but I have a bit of a plan for today's episode. It's not going to be huge kind of stuff, but it's just going to be a bit of everything. Bit of base maintenance over at the Nameless Ruin. And I did have a storyline thing planned for today, but that's going to have to wait because I'm not in the right kind of headspace for it. I don't have the right kind of energy. I'm going to tell you a story today, but it's not going to be a Minecraft story. It's going to be kind of like a personal story, I guess. Because today I'm not going to show you what that is because that's a spoiler for B-Ran's next episode. Apparently, I asked him about that and he was like, wait until my next episode. That's my B-Ran impression. And anyway, I got up this morning, fed the cats, did my usual kind of routine. I feed the cats and then I kind of go back to bed for a little bit. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast. It will help me get back to sleep for an hour or two before I actually have to get up and start my day. Or sometimes I just listen to it and it just relaxes me. It's a nice way to start the day and get my brain engaged. And I was doing that. I was, browsing Twitter and stuff. Mrs. Riffs was waking up as well because she had a dentist appointment today, so she was going to that. And I got up to make us a cup of tea. And then I read on Twitter that David Bowie had died. And that really threw me for a loop. I got very upset about that because I kind of have this... Zombies burning in the sunlight up there. I kind of have this personal connection with... it's not like I didn't know the guy, I'm not related to him or anything like that, but I have personal memories of David Bowie and his music and that kind of thing, which, are kind of like... They're a big deal to me, and so, finding out that he had passed away was really sad. I got pretty upset, and I wasn't sure if I could even make a Minecraft video today. I was going to say whatever, I'll take a day off. I'll come back to it tomorrow when I feel more up to it. But this is so much a part of my routine now, and talking to you guys is a good way of getting things off my chest. I feel like sometimes these things should be expressed as opposed to held in, so I figured I would chat to you guys about that. And if it's too morbid a topic for you, then I totally understand. If you want to tune out and catch up with me next episode, totally cool. But the rest of this episode I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. But there's some good stuff involved with it as well, so I hope you guys will enjoy learning a little bit more about that and about me, because when I was growing up, my parents used to listen to David Bowie, and I thought it was okay. I thought his music was alright. And if you don't know who David Bowie is, look him up. For goodness sake, look him up. He's a pop musician to a certain extent, although, describing his music is kind of like describing how long a piece of string is. There are so many different answers. There are no right answers, really. Do I have any red dye? That's why I'm opening up and showing all of these chests. I don't. Okay, well, we'll use the red stained clay we have in this chest, and I'll throw all the hardened clay in here, and we can use the rest of that another time. But describing David Bowie is very, very difficult because his music spans so many kind of genres. He was known as the Chameleon of pop, which is a really weird thing. Like, people don't give people nicknames like that anymore. Like, nobody is known as the young man of pop or whatever anymore. I feel like that was something they really did a lot in the 70s and 80s. And now it's just he is James Blunt. He's the new James Blunt or something like that. Everyone's just kind of, everyone is just named after previous people. They don't give them little nicknames and funny kind of catchphrase sort of things like that anymore. But David Bowie was the chameleon of pop. He has so many different musical styles and stuff. He wrote so many different songs, kind of like the Beatles in a way, where they just had different phases and stuff. Depending on who was writing their songs sound very different. And Bowie was like that. And so saying you're not into Bowie is probably just saying you haven't found the right song of his yet, because he's got a lot of stuff to offer. I really recommend you guys check him out. But you can find a ton of his music on YouTube, on Vivo, Spotify, whatever music platform you want to take a look at. But I never really got super into him until just after I'd finished university. I went to work in a bookshop up in Leeds, where I went to university, and there was a guy there who only used to work weekends. I think he might even have only ever worked Sundays. Oh, and that is where we need to cut that off with redstone clay. He only ever worked Sundays as far as I recall, and every Sunday, because the way shopping hours work in the UK is that you can't sell anything. If you're a shop of a certain size, which the bookshop I was working in was, you can't sell anything between, outside the hours of 11 and 5. That's the maximum opening hours you can have where you can sell things to the public. And so we used to spend an hour after that, just so we could work a 9-hour or an 8-hour shift. We used to work 10 until 6, and we used to spend the last hour between 5 and 6 tidying up the shop. The first thing this guy did, every time it got to 5 o'clock and the doors shut, was he would go upstairs to where we had CDs and stuff. We had a sound system up there, and he would put on this David Bowie album, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. And he would put this on every single time. Like, if you went up there to put something on, he was there before you, already opening the CD thing and putting it in the player. And we would always listen to this album. And everyone else was just like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's a good album. So nobody really had any complaints, but it was just kind of weird. And so I got to know that album really, really well. Rising Full of Ziggy Stardust basically reminds me of working in that shop, right? And so at the time I was getting into creative writing a little bit. I wanted to try my hand at it. I was working in a bookshop, so it seemed like a good thing to do. You know, you had a lot of books around you for inspiration, and I felt like it was kind of a fun thing to spend my time with when I couldn't really work out what I wanted to do with my career. I was working in a bookshop, that paid the bills, that was good enough for the time being until I figured out what else I wanted to do, and I thought, you know, why not try my hand at writing? And so one of the first ideas I had for a novel, which I ended up writing a draft of, that never, you know, saw the light of day because it was never really quite finished. But I wrote 50,000 words of a book where the religion was entirely based around David Bowie's songs. And anytime I tell people this, if they're into David Bowie's music, they're like, that sounds like a really cool idea. And I think it was, because it works very well as like a religious scripture. A lot of people, you know, people always say listening to a certain artist or seeing a certain performer is like a religious experience. And I think to a lot of people Bowie is. But the fact that this guy used to play it every Sunday, I don't know, it just kind of fit. Like, Bowie was religion to him to a certain extent. And so it developed into this religion that was based on David Bowie's personas. Like, he's a performer, and he has all these different kind of phases that everyone kind of refers to. He almost has like characters that he performs on stage, and they were based on a bunch of his different personas, or personae, I suppose, and if you want to use the correct grammatical term for it. And I posted a synopsis for this on the National Novel Writing Month website, because that's what I was doing it for. I wrote the novel during NaNoWriMo, which is this project where writers get together every November and they write a 50,000 word draft of a novel that they've, you know, had the idea for, but they haven't quite managed to get pen to paper yet. They just kind of speed write it, you know. And obviously you can't necessarily write an award-winning novel in a month or anything. You can't even write a half-decent novel in a month. But it helps you get the draft out, it helps you get the ideas on paper, so you're not like stressing over every word. And then you just kind of do what you want with it from there. You edit it later. And so I posted the synopsis of this book I had the idea of on the NaNoWriMo website, and a few people said, yeah, that sounded like a really cool idea. And one person got in touch with me and said, this sounds great, you know, love the Bowie thing, really into his music in general. How about we chat on MSN Messenger, it was at the time, or on Skype, and we'll chat about it. This is not my first year doing NaNoWriMo, so maybe I can kind of help you out if it's your first time, that kind of thing. And this person later became my wife. So that's how Mrs. Riffs and I met, was through this writing project. And so I guess indirectly, in a sense, David Bowie's music brought us together, in that, you know, it was one of the first things we talked about when we were chatting online. It was one of the first things that we really had in common, and obviously we found out we had a lot of other things in common after that, but Bowie was the first thing. And David Bowie music got played at our wedding. We walked down the aisle to Rebel Rebel, which is one of my favourite songs of his and one of Mrs. Riffs' favourite songs as well. And so he's always kind of felt like a part of our lives to a certain extent, even if we've never really had any kind of, you know, in-person connection to the guy, or, you know, we've never been to like a live David Bowie gig or anything. And I honestly don't know how many gigs he did after a certain point. Like, he's definitely remained kind of in the public consciousness, but you see like Bowie tribute acts and stuff out there. I saw a fantastic tweet somebody posted earlier today where they said Bowie never became his own tribute act. And that's an interesting way of looking at it, because a lot of artists they stop writing songs, or the songs they write aren't as popular later on in their careers, and they start just playing the hits whenever they do concerts. Bowie was still making music, he was still making new stuff, he was always pushing forward, and I think that's That's kind of a fantastic thing about him. That's one of the things that I admire about him as an artist, was that he was constantly experimenting and trying new things. Even, you know, right up until his last days. I mean, everyone was getting really excited for this new album that he had coming out, and it's just a weird realization to know that he'd been struggling with this illness, and that this album was basically going to be his last album, and he kind of knew that in a sense. Like, there was an absolutely heartbreaking thing I saw somebody post where they said, we were so excited to have him back that we didn't know, we didn't realize he was saying goodbye. And that got me really choked up, and it's kind of getting me choked up right now. Yeah, I don't normally talk about stuff like this when I'm making videos, so it's kind of weird to me to talk about this. I've actually tried making this video a couple of times now, and it's felt weird every time talking about it. I don't know quite how to tie things up about this discussion. I don't know how to, like, get this stuff off my chest in a way that feels satisfactory, and it's never really going to feel satisfactory talking about this. I'm never going to been able to have talked about him for the last time, you know? He's always just going to be there, and that's I think the mark of somebody who's done great things, who's like left a mark on you, is that you can never stop talking about them. It just doesn't feel right. That's what Bowie is like to me. I don't think I'll ever stop talking about Bowie, being interested in his music, his life. Even the storytelling I do now with this series is probably in some way influenced by that one story that I wanted to write about his songs, about his music. And it's worth remembering. I think it's worth remembering. I feel like that's the other thing, the other discussion to have with this stuff, is that people react weirdly to death. And I feel like people are so often caught up in talking about death that they forget to remember the life. And I feel like that's something they do well in Latin American culture, specifically in Mexico, where they have Day of the Dead, but I think in some sort of Central and South American countries that aren't Mexico, they have a similar kind of approach, where they have the Day of the Dead. It's kind of like a day to celebrate life, as opposed to mourn the passing of it, you know? Celebrate the things people did when they were alive, as opposed to, you know, being upset that they're no longer here. I think that's a great way of doing things, and I feel like that's the way we should remember great people who are important to us, people who were influential in our lives. I feel like that's what makes the most sense, you know? So that's pretty much going to be it for today's episode. I'm sorry if this hasn't been like the most entertaining discussion. It's a little bit hard to talk about this stuff, but I feel like it's the right time to talk about it now. It feels like something I can talk about now, and then just thank you guys for listening, I guess, because you guys are great at listening. I waffle and I waffle and I talk in these episodes, and a lot of the time, like, I don't know how many people watch these videos all the way through, and I'm absolutely humbled if you do, because that's a fantastic thing for somebody to do. It's just listen to me talk for however long. Do I have any redstone blocks? I need a redstone lamp in those corners. Do I even have any redstone lamps left? I don't think I do. Otherwise I'd have built more of this area. I'm going to call it here for today. Going to do a little bit more work on this off camera, because Minecraft is a place where I think I can come and just be for a while. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, the next day, as long as I can, with more videos, with more Minecraft fun, bits of other stuff. New episode of Ask a Minecrafter next Sunday. Get hype, it's going to be awesome. I already have a plan for it, it's going to be very cool. Alright, I'll see you guys soon. Bye for now.